Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to lecture 2 of week 4 of the course on anti doping awareness for sports. In lecture 1, we had discussed the first part of the doping control process, and today we will continue with part 2 of the doping control process. As we have already discussed, doping control process is a medical legal process and there are several legalities involved with this process. And it is in the interest of the athlete support personnel, and the doping control station staff to ensure that they follow each and every line of the handbook which has been prescribed by WADA. Let's have a recap of lecture 1. We had discussed the definition of the doping control process. We talked about the intent of drug testing. We talked about the types of drug testing. We talked about the various steps which are involved in drug testing. We discussed the rights of the athletes, and we concluded with a take-home message. The outline which we discussed in the previous lecture, half of it has been covered, and athlete selection, notification, reporting to the doping control station, selecting the sample collection vessel, and provision of the sample has been covered in lecture 1. In lecture 2, we will be continuing with selection of the sample collection kit, dividing and sealing the sample, testing the suitability of the sample, completing the doping control form, and transport of the sample to the laboratory. Please note, the sample collection vessel and the sample collection kit are two different things, and the selection has to be made twice. First, you will select the sample collection vessel, and once the sample has been filled in the sample collection vessel, then you will come back and select the sample collection kit. When we discuss, it will be a bit more clearer. Now, athlete is asked to select a sample collection kit consisting of labeled containers which will hold, identify, and secure the urine sample. All dope collection kits are tamper proof, and athletes are responsible for handling their sample until it is sealed. We will discuss the sample kit in detail a bit later. Now, if you look at this sample collection kit, there are different types of sample collection kit depending on the company which manufactures the sample collection kit. Now, if you look at the container, you will see that the box is made of thermocol and it has a tape. Now, the color of this tape is purple if it has been unopened. Once the tape is opened, the color becomes bluish pink. So, it's very easy to find out if the kit has been tampered with or not. So, when as an athlete or as an athlete support personnel, you are asked to select a kit, make sure the kit is sealed and the seal is of a purple color. If you find a blue or a bluish pink color, you can reject that particular box. When the thermocol box is opened, you will find two bottles. It is written test A with a serial number and test B with a serial number. The serial number on the bottle should be the same as the serial number on the outside of the kit. Firstly, both the serial number on the A bottle and the B bottle should be the same as each other, and this serial number should also correspond to the serial number on the kit. Once you open the kit, you will find 2 bottles and 2 sealed. Now, once this cap is put on the bottle and it is locked, it locks in tuck, tuck, tuck. Once it is locked, be assured that it cannot be opened without specialized tools which are only found in WADA accredited laboratories. Right? Now, if you see the bottle carefully, there is a red colored ring on the rim of the bottle. If you see that rim, if that ring is there, you will not be able to seal the bottle. So make sure you remove that ring and then seal the bottle. All this will be explained to you by the DCO during your sample collection. But it is better if you are aware of all this. And if you are an athlete support personnel, you should definitely be aware of all this. Splitting of the sample. The athlete is asked to split the sample, pour 30 ml in the B bottle and pour 60 ml in the A bottle. He does this by himself or herself unless the athlete is a disabled athlete and cannot do it himself or herself. Then the athlete or the athlete support personnel may ask for assistance, and if such assistance is asked for, it should be documented by the DCO in the doping control form. The sample which is present in the sample collection vessel, the athlete is asked to save around 1 or 2 ml in the sample collection vessel after pouring 30 and 60 ml in the A and B bottles. All right. So the athlete pours the required volume of urine in the B bottle, that is 30 ml. There is a marking on the bottle, so it's easy for you to identify. And then the remaining urine is poured into the A bottle, but the athlete is asked to preserve at least 1 or 2 ml in the sample collection vessel. The reason I'll come to a bit later. Once the urine is in the bottle, the athlete seals both the A and the B sample bottle by himself or herself. Once the bottles are properly sealed and locked, they can only be opened in the laboratory using special tools which are available in the laboratory only. Measurement of specific gravity. The athlete will be asked to leave a small collection of urine in the vessel in which the DCO can measure the specific gravity of the urine sample. Generally, the laboratories give a reading or a range between which they want the urine sample to have a specific gravity. But if the specific gravity is less than that particular range, then the athlete may be asked to provide an additional sample. Documentation. The athlete is asked to provide all information on the doping control form about any prescription or non-prescription drugs or supplements which they are taking or they have taken in the previous week or recently. I'll come to that when I discuss the doping control form. Yes, so this is the doping control form. This is a self-inking form and it comes in a set of 5 or 6 forms depending on which event it is being organized for. There may be 7 or 8 forms also. Now, when you write on the first form, because it is self-inking, it will go down to the last form itself. So you don't have to keep writing again and again. Now this is the doping control form. It has got several parts. Now we'll discuss each part in detail. Part 1, athlete notification. So you should always start with the testing authority. Generally, the agency which has asked for the test is the testing authority. Now, the result management authority and the testing authority generally are the same. In rare cases, they may be different. It is generally the NADA. In rare cases, it may be WADA or International Federation. You have to write who is the sample collection authority. You have to write who is the doping control coordinator. After that, you fill in the details of the athlete, the family name, the given name, and the date of birth. You fill in the nationality. You fill in the type of identification document, whether you have checked the passport or you have checked the accreditation card of the athlete. You have to write what type of sample is requested, urine, blood, or dried blood spot. You have to write the date and the time of notification of the athlete. We have discussed what is notification, so that has to be written here. After that, the chaperone or the DCO name is to be written here, and the DCO and the chaperone signs here. The athlete is told to read what is written in the form, and then he or she acknowledges that I have received and read this notice, including the athlete's rights and responsibilities test on the overleaf, and I consent to provide samples as requested. I also understand that failure or refusal to provide a sample may constitute an anti-doping rule violation. Then the athlete is asked to sign here. Once the athlete signs this document, the athlete is presumed to be notified. After notification, the athlete has 60 minutes during competition to report to the doping control station, or within 15 minutes if it is an out of competition test. When the athlete arrives at the doping control station, the doping control staff notes the time of arrival at the doping control station. The athlete's address is noted here, and the coach's name and the team doctor's name are noted in these columns. This is the part 3 of the form wherein you are asked for information for analysis. First thing you are asked to fill is whether it is an in-competition test or out-of-competition test. Then the DCO has to fill the sample collection date, the sport and the gender, testing order code. Now this code is given by Adams, and the Adams test form will have this testing order code. You have to write the sport. If it is athletics, then discipline, 100 meter, 200 meter, whatever. If there is any equipment being used in the sport, you have to write about the equipment manufacturer and the model of the equipment. You have to write about the equipment manufacturer of the dope control kit and the model of the equipment of the dope control kit. If a partial sample has been provided, you have to write the partial sample number, volume in ml, time of sealing, and the athlete or the DCO initials here in this column. If more than one partial sample is provided, again this part of the form has to be filled by the athlete. Once the sample is provided, whether it is urine, blood or dried blood spot. Volume in ml has to be entered. Time of sealing of the sample has to be entered. The code which is present on the bottle and the outside of the kit is to be entered here, and the specific gravity reading is to be entered here. Whoever has witnessed the urine sample collection, that is the DCO or the chaperone, will sign here. If there are multiple samples, then the other signature will be taken here. The next part of the form deals with declaration of medication and blood transfusions. If the athlete has been taking any medication or supplements in the past 1 week, he or she has to give you a list of those, and the DCO fills in that list here, including with dose and date of when the medicine was taken. After that, the athlete is asked if there were any blood transfusions which was received over the last 3 months. If yes, then the details are noted here. If the details are too much for this limited space, then you have something called a supplementary report form which can be filled, and the number of that supplementary report form is to be entered here, and the supplementary report form is to be attached behind the doping control form. If the athlete consents for using of his sample for research, now it is optional, he or she may consent, they may not consent. The DCO is supposed to ask if the sample can be used for research. If the athlete says yes, then you have to take it here. The athlete says no, you have to take it here. After that, there is a column for comments. Any errors or abnormalities observed in the procedure can be documented here by the athlete or by the coach or the athlete support personnel. This is the right, and nobody can take it away from the athlete or the coach. If the matter to be written is more than this limited space, then a supplementary report form can be filled in, and the number of the supplementary report form is to be entered here. After all this, the athlete representative details are noted: name, coach or doctor or trainer or physiotherapist, whatever. Signature is obtained of the athlete representative. Doping control officer name, signature, date and time of completion has to be filled in. All the details of this form is to be checked prior to handing it over to the athlete, because once the athlete signs the form here, nothing can be changed after that. So prior to the athlete signing the form has to be checked and cross-checked, and then the athlete signs the form. Here, the duty of the coach and the athlete becomes important. They have to cross-check whether the number of the kit written on the form is the same as the number on the bottles and on the outside of the kit, and then only they should sign. This is the doping control form which is sent to the laboratory, and as you can see, only information for analysis and the kit number and research consent is visible to the laboratory. The rest of the details are blacked out. That means the athlete cannot be identified from this form, and this is the part of the form which goes to the laboratory. The athlete has the right to note comments on the form regarding the conduct of the doping control session. Be sure to confirm that all the information is correct, including the sample code number. Again, the number on the bottle, the number on the outside of the kit, and the number on the form should be the same. The list of drugs which you have provided to the DCO should be the same as what you have given. The dose and the last date of consumption should also be mentioned clearly. Once the process is completed, the athlete will receive a copy of the doping control form from the DCO. The samples are packed for shipping to ensure that the security of the samples is not challenged. The National Anti-Doping Organization submits the samples to any WADA approved laboratory using a secured chain of custody for analysis. In the laboratory, the lab checks the seal and the integrity of the samples, and if they are correct, they will send the sample receiving report to the National Anti-Doping Organization. The lab analyzes part A of the athlete's urine sample first for the presence of prohibited substance or methods. The lab always stores part B, and it is usually only tested if part B analysis is requested by the athlete or by the National Anti-Doping Organization or by WADA at a later stage. Generally stored for 4 to 5 years. In some cases, it may be stored longer also. At the WADA accredited dope testing laboratory, a dope testing report is generated and the details of the analytical findings are documented on the report. These details are available to the authority who has ordered the testing, and it is also entered into ADAMS for use by WADA or the National Anti-Doping Organization or by the International Federation. Anti-doping process is a medico-legal process. Athletes and athlete support personnel should be aware about the anti-doping program and WADA regulations. Educate yourself first and then educate your athlete about the program, about the legal procedures, and then also educate them about the consequence of failure to comply. All instructions given by the duly appointed DCO and the chaperone during the doping control process is supposed to be followed strictly by the athlete and the athlete support personnel. Athlete and athlete support personnel are supposed to be aware of the processes and specific regulations which may govern your particular sport. As always, say no to doping. These are the references which I have used for preparing this lecture, ladies and gentlemen. In the interest of delving deeper into the subject, I strongly urge you to go through these references because they are quite exhaustive and they will give you a much deeper understanding of this subject if you are interested in studying further. I seem to have finished, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you and Jai Hind.